Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for turning out at this annual village meeting. I'm reliably informed that this is a very large crowd for this event, and that's very encouraging. We like people to take an interest in what goes on. If I can start by just introducing the parish councillors who are here, for those who don't already know them. We have Jeremy Smith over here, hands up. We have Paul Benning here. We have, do we have Sue Ash? Sue, are you with us?
No.
Okay, we don't seem to have Sue. Has she mentioned she's not? Okay, we have Sally Gill, who is definitely here. We have Alan Lloyd Smith, who's known probably already to most of you. And we have Colin Sykes here. And of course we have Yvonne, our clerk, here. First thing I'd like to do is to welcome to the meeting Mike Hill, our Kent County Councillor and loyal supporter, Johnny Shilton, our Ashford Bury Council or Isle of Oxney representative, and another guest who's here, Neil Bell, who's at the back there, who's the prospective replacement for Mike in his role as Kent County Councillor at Tenterden. Before we start reporting, I just wanted to say a few words about Mike, because this is his last appearance at one of these meetings. He's doing the rounds, I gather, of all the villages. He's retiring as a Kent County Councillor at the May elections. And he's been a very long-serving and loyal assistant to us here. A little bit of background. Mike was in the army and rose to the rank of brigadier, which, as most of you know, is pretty high up the levels, and gained an OBE for his service. He was elected to Kent County Council as a member for Tenterden in 2001. He and Annette, his wife, have lived in Tenterden, I reckon, for about 32 years. So they're deeply really entrenched in our local community, and that means a lot, I think, to villages like ours. He served as the KCC Cabinet Member for Communities and Regulatory Services from 2005 until 2023. I would emphasise the communities element of that. I can't believe that Regulatory Services gave you as much pleasure as your service for communities. And I feel communities have really been at the heart of everything that Mike has done. He's demonstrated this most clearly in championing the Community Warden Scheme, which, although severely impacted by the recent budget cuts, is still a valuable service for rural villages. We all know the issues surrounding an ageing population, the impact of COVID, the huge increase in mental problems among both old and young. These must have made his role one of the most demanding and potentially stressful in the entire county. However, whenever he comes to Wittersham, which he always does willingly upon request, he's the same approachable and reliable friend of the village, willing to give freely of his advice and support. I was interested to learn of his involvement both with the concept and the creation of the Turner Contemporary at Margate. For those of you who haven't been there, it's somewhere well worth visiting. Demonstrating your great interest in Kent arts and your connection with the Olympics and the Paralympics. I understand that he even helped to secure for Kent the longest by time leg of the Olympic torch running, longer than any other county. He's also helped many communities to retain their libraries as community hubs at a time when their future was in question as a result of the never-increasing need for local authorities to reduce their costs. Locally, he's been an invaluable aid in our dealings with KCC, which is so important to our community, for education, social services, and of course transport. By the way, potholes are Kent's responsibility, not ours or Ashford's. He's also impacted the lives of Wittersham villagers very directly in securing funding for the new toilet block at the church. So Mike is someone who gets things done, no doubt a legacy of his army days. He's done good things for us and we thank him for this. If we can show our... So, we officially now start with any apologies, do we?
Could you just mention the meeting?
Oh, fine. Yes, I think you should all know that the meeting is being recorded, so you should restrain yourselves with what you say. Thank you, Yvonne. Officially now we start with apologies. Any apologies?
PC Darren Laker.
Our local police constable unfortunately cannot attend to give his report, but we have a few words from him, I think. The second item we have is to confirm the minutes / report of the meeting held last year at this time. Those of us who've had copies.
Yes, there are copies around.
There are copies, okay. So I believe they are a true record. Is everybody happy that I should sign this?
Proposer and seconder.
Proposer and a seconder, please. Alf, thank you, and Paul here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
You could sign.
I shall sign them.
Date, please.
What's the date?
It's the 8th. 8th of the 4th.
Okay. Fine. Mike, the floor is yours for your report.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you very much for those very kind words. Much appreciated. When I spoke to you last year, I forecast a turbulent year ahead. It certainly proved to be very true. We've had a roller coaster of a year. Internationally, we sort of had wars breaking out in Ukraine and the Middle East, and of course an election in America. The effects of which are sort of reverberating around the globe. At home we had an election and a change in the governing party for the first time in 14 years. So it had been a turbulent time abroad and at home. And at home also we had little progress on stopping the flood of small boats coming across the channel. And we had problems on the economy with nationally finances being stretched completely. And stubbornly growth refuses to come despite all the efforts of the government. So it has been not a great picture both nationally and internationally. And for the county council, the financial position continues to give us significant problems. We're still looking at facing the demand, insatiable demand of adult social care and children's care. We still have the problems of a fixed income and no sign of much support from government. So financially we are stretched very much, but we're not alone in this. You'll have seen probably in the papers that 7 councils have now gone broke and actually had to declare themselves unable to meet their commitments. And the news is that about half of the present councils are forecasting that in the next few years they're going to be having financial troubles in order to meet their case. So there's going to be some hard roads ahead, particularly on the financial side. We've had to raise the council tax, I'm afraid, by the maximum permitted of 5%, but we have no options on that. And even with that, we are having great difficulty setting our budget this year. We've managed to do it but only by biting into our reserves to some extent, and also by taking some very savage savings measures, which will inevitably have an effect on our service delivery. We can't do these things without pain, and there will be pain there. Now, the other major issue that's come to the fore this year is, of course, the local government devolution and local government reform. On devolution, the government is determined to press ahead with their plans to have mayors right across the country. So we're going to have a mayor for Kent and Medway in due course. Kent and Medway will come together, and we have a mayor for there. We were hoped to be on the fast track for that, which would have been mayoral elections next year, but bizarrely and for no rational reason, the government has not put us on the fast track. All our neighbours are, so everyone except us. East, Norfolk, Suffolk, East Sussex, West Sussex, Surrey, Hampshire, they're all on the fast track. Kent is an island now, surrounded by other counties. There's been no rational explanation of that. It must be a political move, I think, but I can't even understand that, I'm afraid, what the politics of it is. But anyway, there we are. We are on the slow track. The best forecast, I guess, is probably for mayoral elections in Kent and Medway in 28, but that's really a guesstimate. We don't know. And the effect of that is actually not bad news for Kent, because we're going to be on the slow track. We won't have the opportunity to shape the new shape of Kent, and also the money that's going to come down the road, and there will be money down the road with the mayor, will not come to us until whenever our elections are. So we are, certainly in the County Council, very disappointed in that decision of the government's, being bad news for Kent. Whether the devolution is a good idea, I will have to wait and see. It's going to be certainly a big change. County Council will go, Medway Council will go, all the districts, all 12 districts will go, completely vanish. All the staff will lose their jobs, and we'll have to have a new system of a number of unitaries, 3 or possibly 4, and all the staff will have to look for jobs. So it's going to be a huge amount of work to set this all up. And at the end of the day, we'll have what the government believe will be a more efficient system. Well, there's no doubt that 2 tiers does confuse people. This is the council, and where the unity will do everything. All the county council does, and all the district council do. And it will be easier for people to understand, I think. But nevertheless, it will be, I think, not quite so close to the cold face for the councillors. The district councils are much closer than the unities will be, but we'll see how it works out in the end. But just to be quite clear, this is a flagship policy of the government, and there's no question of any doubt they're going to insist on going through. They're determined to do it, and it will happen. Now, anyway, the other things I can't not mention roads. Roads are bad. I fully understand that. You don't need me to tell you that. But they are going to improve. Our pothole blitz is starting right now, and we will see a significant improvement in the next few weeks or months. It is, I'm afraid, an impossible problem though. Our national backlog is huge, and the amount of money that is required to put the roads right is out of any sort of money we have. And the government does not seem to be prepared to put the sort of investment necessary in our roads. We've had decades of underinvestment in roads, and it's showing now. The problem is, as you're well aware, that if you keep patching, you'll end up with things that just break out every time it rains, or every time we get some frost, you get more potholes. If they need resurfacing properly, and we can't afford to do it. On the unaccompanied asylum seekers, just to bring up to date on that, we've had to establish reception centres across Kent in order to look after the unaccompanied asylum seekers. We now have 7 reception centres. We're hoping for them to be more dispersed across the county, but at legal judgment, maybe they had to be looked after in Kent, so we have to look after them in Kent, and that's been not a financial burden on us, I may say. The government are funding that, but it is a problem nevertheless for us in terms of our manpower and our resources. So we have 7 reception centres now. And finally, for me, that we have an election on the 1st of May, as your chairman has said, that I will not be standing again. I've done 24 years of this, and 18 years on cabinet, and I think probably enough is enough. And so I shall be standing down. Looking back on my time here, I just sort of thinking what the changes I've seen in the 24 years I've been in the county council, and they are quite strong. When I came in 2001, Sandy Lockhart was the leader of KCC. We had significantly more resources. We didn't think we had, but we had. Looking back on it now, it was a golden age by comparison to now. And we had, particularly in my area, which I was responsible for, the discretionary and softer services, the arts, the sport, the library, all that stuff. We were able to spend money on there we were unable to spend now. I built Contemporary, I built half a dozen libraries, big new libraries. I built the Kent History Centre and Community Wharton we spoke about. I built several new youth clubs. All that was possible. But now we can't do any of that. We can't do any of that at all. We can't build anything. All we can do is try and desperately keep the ship afloat. And so that's very disappointing. And certainly I was lucky to have a few years at least of a time when we could actually spend money and do something to improve the lives of our residents. Now we can't do that. We just sort of have to. We'll end up, I'm afraid, if we don't get some more resources, just delivering an arm of government, delivering statutory services to a pretty low level, and that's not very encouraging, I'm afraid. That's just my reflections on that time. But I found it very rewarding. I found my portfolio was fascinating and something one got to get one's heart into. But also, particularly, I've enjoyed things like this. I've enjoyed my area, my constituency, and being able to support people and help people with the problems they had combating the bureaucracy of KCC, and whether it is schools or special needs or roads or whatever it was, has been very rewarding for me. So thank you very much indeed for all your support. I really enjoyed it, and the best wishes for the future. Thank you.
Does anyone have anything specific that they would like to ask Mike in the way of questions relating to Kent County Council?
I've got one question. Mike, why is there so much less money available to go around? What's your take?
Well, when I came, Jonathan, we had about 75% of our money came directly from government by revenue support grant, and 25% came from council tax. And the government, the previous government, not this one, made the decision to stop that funding system, and we have steadily reduced the revenue support grant. Is now gone altogether, and our only income now comes from council tax and business rates. So that doesn't crack it, I'm afraid. And the actual amount we've got something about 40% less money now, cash terms, than we had in when I came in. 40% less. Let alone the increase. The other side of the whole thing is increased demands, which are going up enormously. And while we have the statutory responsibilities for children's services and adult social care, we're going to be faced with insatiable demands. We have an ageing population and ever more children demanding special needs. So that's the problem. The demand goes up and up and up, and our income goes down and down and down, and there's a crack in the middle.
Do the government take any account of the fact that your resources are drained by all these people arriving on our shores daily?
Well, yes, I wouldn't, Jane, I think to be fair, the government have actually done a lot in the way of supporting us financially to look after the people. I wouldn't complain about that. I would say that we still have to find the resources to do it, and that's not easy. Because you can't find social workers, you can't find foster carers, you can't find foster homes easily. So that is our big problem. But that's not a financial problem per se.
Greg.
Mike, last time you told us about the reorganisation from county councils to unitary councils, you were rather more upbeat about it than you have been this evening. I imagine that's partly because you were anticipating being on the fast track, but does not being on the fast track mean actually less money for Kent, or does it just mean money later? In other words, will life be worse in the context of the question?
No, in theory it should be the same. I mean, who knows? But I mean, I think the fact it's not coming early is disappointing. I think that's what it's about. And also the ability to shape things, you know. We'd like to feel that we were in the front line. So this thing will have to evolve to some extent. I mean, it's absolutely brand new. They can't get it right for the first time. So it'll have to sort of evolve as we go on. And if we're not there, then our views are not being heard.
I understand the frustration.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Johnny.
Well, I'll start with a familiar theme. Thank you, Mike. He's been a great friend and great help to me in the 2 years that I've been doing it. Not quite as long as Mike's been doing it, of course. He's also described the difficulties of being a a councillor quite well, not just the financials and how councils work, or rather sometimes don't work. He's also provided the best job description I think I've ever heard of being a councillor, which is battling bureaucracy. There is a huge amount of that in councils. Ashford is no different, I think, in many respects to Kent, and my priority is, stepping aside devolution, of the remainder of its life, Ashford continue to deliver the best services it can. So planning continues to take too long. People wait for years and years for answers to often quite simple questions. And the state of the housing stock in Ashford continues to appall me. I've lost track of the number of residents who've sent me pictures of all sorts of weird and wonderful things that are in their houses that shouldn't be. And I do worry that in the rural areas such as here, the council doesn't pay as much attention as it should, and that's why Mike and I and others are here, is to represent you and to make sure you're heard, and that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. One of the other things is that what you should do in times of difficulty, what we all do, is we try to do more with less. What a lot of councils seem to do, and Ashford is no different, is to try to do less with more. So in addition to providing, in my opinion, an inferior and depleting service, the council will also put up taxes again this year. And when you were all kind enough to lend, I suspect Mike, but certainly me, your votes when you did, we said we'd vote against that, and I voted against increasing your taxes this year. So I've come to apologise that I was unsuccessful in keeping them low for you. One other thing I'd like to reflect on is that this year we lost Mick Burgess, who was my predecessor for 32 years, which is an enormous amount of service to give to a local community, in my opinion. First elected in 1991. I don't know if everyone can picture where they were in 1991, but John Major was Prime Minister, and I wasn't really even still in school, to be honest. So he was a huge mentor and taught me all sorts of things, and I feel the burden of the very large shoes to fill more than ever. I'd like to finish by saying that it's been great to see so many people out here this evening, and thank you for coming. It's great to see people still engaging in local communities and rural communities. If you don't have my email address or my telephone number, please do ask. I'm more than happy to speak to anyone about anything. And I regret to tell, my better half is most unhappy to learn the phone will ring at any time of night with whatever issue. But thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you all afterwards.
Any questions for Johnny?
I'd just like to ask that the Ashford Borough Council now is constituted in a different form from previously.
Yes.
And might we have hoped for a more sympathetic reception to your suggestion that they don't put taxes up quite so high with a constitution, the mixture of independents and Greens and whatever? Then they're just saying we've got the opportunity to go for the maximum and everybody else is, so why don't we?
Yes, there's no sort of creative thought about it, about, the council doesn't necessarily spend money in the wisest ways. Could we possibly, the priority is to get more money from the residents first, I feel, and I think there are other priorities that could be served differently.
Yes, yeah, well, I'm with you on that.
I suspect most people in the room are.
Anything else for anybody to ask? Thank you, Johnny.
Perfect.
Yvonne, you have a few words from our police constable.
Very few words.
Very man of few words.
Well, no, it's not actually. He's getting in front of you. He doesn't stop. Right, when it comes to writing. Yes, I'm unable to attend tonight, but will look to attend another parish meeting if I could have some dates. We've had dates before, but so I've sent him the rest of the year. In regards to a report, I have not been made aware of any major issues in the area, and I patrol the area when I can. I've been made aware of a couple of incidents where youths with catapults have been seen and objects have been fired into trees, and on at least one occasion a pigeon has been killed. Trying to identify the youths who may have been involved. In regards to crime, there has been doesn't make sense. He has trouble identifying the youths, basically. In regards to crime, there's been the following since January. Just a couple attempted burglary in the street. Suspects tried to gain entry to a barn, causing damage to the lock, but nothing appears to have been stolen at that time. And burglary in the granary, barn broken into and a squat bike, and 2 motocross bikes stolen. That's it.
Fine, we have had 1 or 2 incidents with catapults which are very concerning, but generally the village seems reasonably well behaved. Anybody, any comments in connection with problems they've had that we can
We had a broken window from the catapult.
Have you with a catapult?
Which was reported.
No.
I thought it was known that we did know who the likely culprits were.
Well, no one told us.
I think there are those who do know who they are.
Oh, probably.
What we're doing about it exactly, I'm not quite sure.
Not a lot.
Well,
I'll pass that back.
I could show you my victim
Yeah.
statement from the police, which means, sorry, but there's no evidence, we're not doing anything.
No.
Which
I think-
was
So
hoping
we
put
had to
to
pay
him.
for a new window.
Like all other villages, I think we'd love to see a local policeman who would know the mothers and have a word with them and things would be sorted. But unfortunately, resources don't seem to run to that. So,
But again, it's the old problem that we can think to try and punish the culprits, but in fact, what we need to do is create more for them to do.
that's a very cogent point. That's our PC's report. Jo Voss.
Yes, I did ask for a report. She hasn't sent one. The thing is, she does only work days. She doesn't work evenings. She lives in Hastings. She's got 2 young children, so to come out is difficult. But I do know she does come to my workshops. Not the workshops, the coffee mornings that we have. I don't know whether she comes to any others.
Yes.
Comes every week.
Every week.
Yeah.
So,
It's been fantastic in relation to the community garden.
so I think she does do a lot with the community.
Sure.
And I know when she's been here, she does chat to those that are on their own. I know she does speak to. So
I think really it's a question of anybody who feels they would like to talk to her about anything, she's available.
yes, Thursdays between 10 and 12 in here are the best times to catch her.
Fine. Right. I'm now going to give a report of the activities of the Parish Council during the year. Starts always with planning. We've had the 1 major application for 18 houses and 2 self-builds on Stocks Road. You'll all know that this has been rumbling for a number of years. The Parish Council has supported the application and consent was granted on the 19th of March. The planning officer is now putting together a list of conditions. We're hopeful that the village may benefit from funds from a S106 agreement. That's a sum that developers have to pay towards the community in which they're building. The money is agreed between the developer and Ashford, and we have made it clear as we can to Ashford that we do have some projects for which we could use the money, and we don't wish to see the money disappearing into Ashford's coffers rather than coming the way of the village where the development is taking place. We've had a total of 27 planning applications during the year, of which 26 were supported and 1 opposed. Ashford have granted 22 of these, and decisions are awaited for 5, 1 decision dating back as far as 2023. We've applied for listed building consent to replace the steps and surrounds to the War Memorial. They've become a bit of a trip hazard, and to extend the path into the Memorial Garden. We've had a quote for doing this work, which has been accepted, but unfortunately, as the War Memorial is listed, we have to go through a listed consent process. Under the Highways Improvement Plan, you will have seen that now
40-mile-an-hour speed limits are in place on the north end of the village, and the Beware Horses signs are now up. That's been a long struggle, quite a costly one, but anyway, eventually we got there. Other highway issues, we continue to report potholes, and these are from time to time attended to. Highways officers have inspected the brick path alongside the church wall due to safety concerns. The council have accepted that the ownership of this path is theirs, and thus maintenance is their responsibility. And they've earmarked a certain uneven part for further attention. The adjacent no man's land, where cars are currently parked, mainly the school teachers during the day, this is an area that we've been unable to establish either that the church or the county council or ourselves own it, but we have now resolved that the parish council will register it as theirs. Signs to the cemetery have been attached to the post where the footpath begins opposite the church. On public rights of way, diversion of part of 8080 and 8081, which ran close to Rugden Barn, has been approved and is now in place. The cemetery extension that we hope to take place, again this has become a protracted and rather bureaucratic procedure. We have to obtain a biodiversity net gain report, and the person who's preparing this report has to wait until May to do it, so that presumably biodiversity activity is its height at that time, and so we have to wait to get that before we can submit our planning application. We're keen that the Ashford Borough Council owned land on Poplar Farm Field should ultimately be transferred to us. It's not of any great use to them anymore, since part of it has been designated as a village green, which therefore can't be developed. And we've had we had a high-level meeting at Ashford to talk about possible transfer of the land, but we were told that they had no time to deal with anything connected with any form of property at the moment, and so we were sent on our way, but we will persist with that in due course. The caretaker scheme, run so ably by Alf, who's here tonight. Over the years, the contribution that Ashford made to pay for this, towards the payment to cover the areas that we took over from them originally, have not kept up with inflation and have in fact fallen well behind. So we have approached them for a substantial increase in what they pay. They sent a representative over here to attempt to identify what they felt was the right amount for them to pay, and it's quite clear that we're not going to agree as to the extent of their contribution. It's likely, therefore, that we will be reviewing the whole caretaker scheme during the year, and the current arrangements can no longer continue, but we have at least agreed, they have at least agreed to continue for the current year, during which we can negotiate with them over cost. Under our formal policies, we've introduced a best practice guide for addressing the issue of social media, and with thanks particularly to Paul, we've now have a best practice guide among our book of instructions. Under miscellaneous issues, top of the list for me inevitably is the Swan Pub and our efforts to save it. Most of you will know that we had a very well supported meeting initially in the village, at which a lot of interest in retaining the pub was expressed. We took note of those who were interested and went back to them, and
then subsequently to those who remained, and unfortunately it's been a sort of diminishing programme really of interest shown to such an extent that we were unable to feel that a community bid for the pub would be realistic. We're anxious to support any initiatives, and as those who know me and the efforts I've made over the years will know that the subject is still one that I will be pursuing in whatever form I can. The last thing we need is to have the building gradually deteriorate until ultimately it becomes a development site. Another item, there's the Kent Association of Local Councils gives a community award each year, and this year it was presented to Hilary Pettifer and her Wednesday Weeders, who do such good work for us. Last year. Okay, last. Yes, we're looking back. In the Memorial Garden. Roger and Valerie Parker, who I think have now moved, they have actually moved.
Yes.
Yes. Very kindly donated 3 benches to the village. One is going to be installed in the existing play area on Poplar Farm Field, and another, it's been agreed, will be given to the Climate Oxney group for the community garden outside here.
Thank you.
We planted a cherry tree in the Memorial Garden to celebrate the late Queen's birthday. The flagpole, which was deteriorating slightly, the flagpole's been cleaned and replaced as necessary by Alf, and the jack, the small flag, has been repaired by Yvonne. So that's ready for VE Day, raising the flag.
Oh, the flagpole will be ready, yes.
Yes,
we've got a new flag.
on VE Day. £90 has been given to the Jeremiah Greenland charity by the Parish Council, raised through the Thursday morning coffee shop. Last but by no means least, dog fouling. I'm afraid that's a perennial issue, and following complaints, Yvonne has purchased some stickers which she attached to lampposts. Alf attached. Fire actually attached. Under finance, we purchased a new laptop for Yvonne. Budget was agreed for next year. Our precept, 37,700. Donations were given to Kent, Surrey and Sussex Ambulance, Outlook on Oxney, Weald and Community First Responders, the Royal British Legion Poppy Appeal, and the Scarecrow competition, which is unique to this village. Subscriptions were paid to Kent Association of Local Councils, Kent County Playing Fields Association, Weald of Kent Preservation Society, and the Institute of Cemetery and Crematorium Management. And we agreed to fund Climate Oxney's meetings here in the village hall. Bit of training was done. Alan and I attended a chairman's conference organised by CALC. I attended a local climate and energy efficiency and health and wellbeing forum organised by Ashford. Yvonne attended a workshop on memorial safety at Maidstone Cemetery, and she attended various scribe and ICCM Q&A webinars. I think those are mainly to do with computers and software and stuff. And the 16th Kent Rail Summit. Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah. What was that about?
Well, it's about the trains. Now
Good
run
to
in
be.
the southeast and what
Excellent.
they're doing in the
Yes.
stations.
Well, there are petitions about now for the international trains to stop at Ashford, which I'm fully supportive of and hope will happen. And she also attended an online safety awareness and planning enforcement training, and all of those were at no cost. Okay, that's all that. Just now a few thank yous to Lexi and her team for gardening in the triangle, which is just magnificent all year round.
and a treat for us who pass it so regularly at the War Memorial. Hilary and her team, I've mentioned them in the Memorial Gardens. Chris Teasdale, our tree warden, who's present. Those various volunteers who do litter picking in their areas. David Chesson as our internal auditor. Alf, our caretaker, I've mentioned him. And Yvonne, absolutely, from me, our clerk, our responsible finance officer. Carries out the instructions of the council, answers questions or concerns from residents. And for me, with my predecessor Jeremy, special thanks to him, provides an unlimited resource of knowledge and village history. Has made taking on the chairmanship a much smoother and more pleasant experience than I could have possibly imagined. Finally, thank all of you for attending and taking an interest. It really matters to us. Thank you very much. Open forum, is that
questions and answers?
Yeah. Any questions at all about the parish council, what we've done, what we could do, what we could do better? Kate.
Can we do something as a community to show just how much we need the Ashford International Railway Station to be an international railway station?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we could certainly, perhaps, what's the best way to tackle that, do you think? Johnny, maybe?
I didn't hear it myself, but Lula heard on the radio today that Avanti have just been given a licence to run through the tunnel and will stop on the way. But she heard that, she told me, so it's worth anyone when they go home, perhaps on the BBC website or something for Kent. But if that's true, it presumably takes a year or two to set up, and then that would be a step forward, because obviously if they do it, then they'll compete with Eurostar.
There has been pressure for these inset allowances, hasn't there, for other firms to compete on the line. That could be the way, but okay, we'll think on that, and if we feel, because I think you've probably signed the petition, have you? That it comes around periodically on the internet. A petition to reinstate the international service. Anyway, we'll keep pressing.
And you're absolutely right, and I haven't heard that, but I suspect, Jeremy, you're probably right. The operator, we met as a joint transport board about a year and a half ago, I think you were there, Mike, with the chief executive of the current operator, who said, well, if I had more trains, I'd just run them from London to France. I wouldn't stop at Ashford. And following that, they've now opened it up, the contract, so that other operators can bid, and if one is successful, then we can show support by buying tickets. But in the meantime, the petition is probably the best way, or writing to our local Member of Parliament to get them to try and write to the operators as well.
Well, on that subject, could we, as under the hat of the parish council, invite Katie Lamb to come and talk about transport issues, because she's in the, I don't know what it's called, but the special
select
committee for rural transport issues. I think her interest is in buses, great, but the whole rail problem is enormous too.
Surely, I think that would be a great idea. She's very much aware of but she's been very good, I think, at coming around to the local villages, and I'm sure that if we could make a note of that, let's get her over and perhaps build a bit of an event around her coming to the village, which transport could be one of the featured items.
Because if she doesn't come to the parish council, we'll invite her to Climate Oxney, but that's a much, much smaller forum, obviously. It would be nice to have the whole village turn out for
it. It would. Anybody with any further questions?
In your generous round of thanks, should you mention the garden out the back here, which is looking so wonderfully nice?
Well, absolutely, and this is a Climate Oxney initiative, clearly visible out the window here, an area of wasteland that most people, I think, didn't even know existed, and certainly didn't cast an eye over.
It looks so good now.
And there's a large group of volunteers. This is a wonderful initiative.
And we've had more gifts, donations of time and things then I can make a list of, and it wouldn't even fit in Outlook or Oxley. It would all need all 16 pages to thank all the people.
Yes, well, it's
It's been a great community project so
That's
far.
wonderful to hear, and thanks to you both for initiating it. Fine, well I think I can now declare the annual parish meeting closed, and thank you again, and those who wish to leave are very welcome to do so, because we'll be proceeding with the parish council meeting, and that won't necessarily be as interesting and as exciting as the last hour.
Thank you.